विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So Hare Krishna everybody. I was Abhishek Bansal Prabhu told me that yesterday Jitendra Prabhu he discussed the story of Bharat Maharaj. So was the pastime of Bharat Maharaj completed? Yes. Okay. So Abhishek Prabhu is saying yes, it was completed. Okay. So just after the pastime of Bharat Maharaj in your Learn Gita Live Gita book, the next thing is the um, the questions based on that pastime. So I think today we will try to finish all those questions. Let us see if we are able to finish all of them. The story of Bharat Maharaj is actually very, very important because it teaches us many important lessons. So and these questions will help us to understand those lessons nicely. So maybe we can start off with answering. We'll try to answer these questions. Some of them are very simple. So let us start with the first question. After whom the Indian subcontinent is known as Bharatvarsha? So because this is question and answer, so I am expecting to hear answers today because you read you heard the actual pastime yesterday. So now we need answers. So after whom is the Indian subcontinent Raja Bharat? Okay. Yes, that is correct. Bharat Maharaj. Yes. It is Bharat Maharaj whose story we are studying, and after him, this Indian subcontinent is known as Bharatvarsha. The next question is, who is Rishabdev? Who is Rishabdev? Was father? Yes, Rajkumar Prabhu is saying he was the father. He was the father of Bharat Maharaj. King Rishabdev actually was an incarnation of Krishna. And he came into this world, and as an incarnation of Krishna, he was also the ruler of the entire world. And as the ruler, he ruled very wonderfully, and he had many sons. And the most important of, or the most senior or the most advanced of those sons was Bharat Maharaj. So yes, he was the father. Rishabdev was the father of Bharat Maharaj. Okay, next question is, how did King Bharat rule the whole world? Yes, how did he rule the whole world? Any answers? Oh, where is the app? Okay. This is actually, yeah, it's a relatively simple question. He ruled it. He was the king of the earth, and he ruled it. Are you able to see my screen? Are you able to see the? Okay, okay. So yes, how did he rule? He ruled it very, very wonderfully, as you would expect an ideal king to rule. So he was very rigid in himself executing religious principles and then spreading it and inculcating it in his praja, among the citizens, and he would take care of all of their needs, their food, their health, and more importantly, their spiritual needs. He would perform lots of yagyas that would satisfy the Supreme Lord, and in this way, he would take care of his whole praja very wonderfully. You can read more about it, how exactly he did it, in the Bhagavatam. It is not here written in that much detail, but he was a very successful ruler. Okay. Then why did he leave his kingdom? Yeah. Oh, Rajni Upreti. He conquered entire India from Himalayas and north till Kanyakumari. Yeah, actually he was the Bharat Maharaj that we are discussing here from the Srimad Bhagavatam. He was the son of Rishabdev, and he actually was the ruler of the entire world, not just India. The entire world, the entire whole Earth planet was under his jurisdiction. Yeah. So the next question is why did he leave his kingdom? Why did he leave his kingdom? If this was discussed yesterday, then maybe somebody can answer. Why did he leave his kingdom? Rajkumar Prabhu says to get moksha. Interesting. Any other answer? Yeah, maybe I can answer this one. Advancement in spiritual life. Yes, Kunal Prabhu is correct. Advancement in spiritual life. Rajkumar Prabhu also is to some extent correct, but what is moksha that we don't understand, or our understanding of the word moksha is usually very not very correct. So, but more importantly, the reason why he left his kingdom were two reasons. One of the reasons, as Kunal Prabhu mentioned, was for spiritual advancement, and the second one was because he was supposed to. As a king, it is the duty of the person who is the king to actually also leave the kingdom after some time, because as I don't know you have been discussed with or not, there are four categories, four stages of life, right? Brahmacharya, Grihasth, Vanprasth, and Sannyas. So these are the four categories of life, human life. Very broadly, it is said that the first 25 years should be for Brahmachari life, then 25 to 50 for Grihasth life, then the next 25, 50 to 75 for Vanprasth life, and then after that for Sannyas. So, so first of all, that was his duty, So just because he is the king of the world, it doesn't mean that he has to rule until he dies, So that is not how it is done. Of course, nowadays in many countries, where there is a totalitarian government, there is a monarch or a dictator or whatever, then usually it is like that, then that as long as the person is living, they will be the ruler. So, but that is not actually what our Vedic understanding is. The Vedic understand, for example, like right now in where is it? In England, so they have this Queen Elizabeth. So she has been ruling for a very long time, and she is like in her 90s or something. But that is not the model that the Vedic system provides us. The model that Vedic system provides us is that after a certain period of time, you give up your Grihasth ashram, and then you enter Vanprasth ashram, which means that you go, earlier it was very literal. Vanprastha means prathan, go forward for for the forest. And yes, the idea was to, it was not direct sannyas. First there was Vanprastha. The difference between Vanprastha and sannyas is that in Vanprasth, you go to the forest, but still you have some connection with your family. You can still meet them once in a while. You still are kind of part of the family, but the idea is to slowly remove or reduce all the attachments and all the comforts that life provides. So going to the forest is a way to also reduce the comforts and focus more on spiritual development, and that acts as a stepping stone for sannyas, where one is completely renounced. But yeah, so that was first thing, that Bharat Maharaj was supposed to give up his kingdom after a while, so he did that. And the second was, as Kunal Prabhu mentioned, to advance in spiritual life. That is really the goal of Vanaprastha, not just that we have to go to the forest for some reason. No, the reason is to make advancement in spiritual life. We accumulate so much during grahasth life, during when we are a householder, we accumulate so much. The house is filled with stuff. So slowly get rid of the stuff, get rid of things that are not needed. So yeah, earlier, as I was mentioning earlier, Vanaprastha meant literally that you go to the forest. Now, of course, it may be difficult to go to the forest because we don't have many forests left. And secondly, even if you go to the forest, because because of deforestation and because of commercialization of forests, you would hardly find any actual let's say fruit-giving trees there. So the idea of going to the forest was that the person would go there and subsist on whatever is available there, so fruits and whatever. But now you won't even see any fruit-giving trees. They have just grown all kinds of commercial trees. And because of deforestation, the animals also don't have a place to live, so they are all packed. So it will be very difficult for us to do that now. So now Vanaprastha can mean something slightly different. For example, it could mean going to a holy place, like Vrindavan or Mayapur, and slowly reducing the attachments. Yes, so that was the reason he went. Okay, next question. Spent too much time on that question. How did he got attached to a deer? So yeah, this again, maybe I can give the answer, because this will kind of, if you don't remember the story exactly, it will help you refresh your memory of the story. And plus oh yes, Rajani Upriti is answering. When King Bharat saw the motherless baby deer floating down the river, he felt great compassion. He lifted the deer from the water and brought it to his ashram. Yes, exactly. This is what happened. So, so Bharat Maharaj, he was in the forest. He had gone to the ashram of Pulaha, one sage Pulaha, and he was doing meditation there. And then he saw a mother deer, who was pregnant. She was there, and then immediately he heard the thundering roar of a lion who was coming to catch and kill this mother deer. So mother deer was trying to jump across a river to kind of avoid the lion. And while she was jumping, the baby deer, it fell off, and then it went into the water. And then he saw Bharat Maharaj saw this baby deer, and he felt compassion, and then he brought him to his ashram. And then once he brought him to his ashram, slowly with time he got attached to the deer. Okay, next question. After leaving his body, King Bharat attained the body of the deer. Why? Yes. So why did King Bharat attain? So just to complete the story slightly, he took care of the deer nicely, and after a while, of course, he died. And after death, he actually himself got the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj. The question here is, why did that happen? Why did he get the body of a deer? Any answers? So he had the body of a human being. He was the king of the entire planet, and then somehow in his next life he became a deer. Why is that? What is happening here? Abhishek Prabhu is saying that when you give the answer, also mention the shloka from Bhagavad Gita that supports this case. Okay, so Dheeraj Prabhu, Rajkumar Prabhu is saying, what anyone think in last time he finds body according to that? Yes. Dheeraj Prabhu is mentioning he remembered deer at the time of death. Yes. Rajini Upreti is saying because he was absorbed in the body of deer at the time of death. Yes. So all these are correct. Um, Throughout his life, after he got that baby deer, all he did was take care of the deer, right? So before he met the baby deer, he was on a very, very high platform of spiritual life. It is described that there are 9 stages of progressing in devotional service. He was on the 8th one, so it is very high stage. So he was almost like 99% perfected spiritually, and then he met this baby deer. And then what happened is that he thought that, oh, this baby deer, I am the only person to take care of this baby deer. So he would very nicely take care of him. If the baby deer had an itch, he would itch nicely. If the baby deer wanted any grass, he would feed him nice grass. He would help the baby deer go all around the forest just to walk. And then when there would be any animals on the side, then he would get frightened for the baby deer. He would take care of the baby deer. So basically his whole life after that point was to for this baby deer, just to serve this baby deer, and just he was baby deer conscious. But as a result, he lost his Krishna consciousness slowly, and we'll discuss about that. But the point was, yes, he became more and more absorbed in just thinking about the baby deer, trying to feed him, trying to serve him. Therefore, it is obvious that at the time of death, that is what he thought. At the time of death, he was totally immersed in the thought of his dear. Therefore, as a result of that, because of thinking of the deer at the time of death, in the next life, he got the body of a deer. So Abhishek Prabhu is saying, if anybody remembers the Bhagavad Gita verse that corresponds to this idea, to this concept, that, in other words, a Bhagavad Gita verse that explains this concept that we are talking about. So they can unmute themselves and they can speak out that verse. Or even if you want to type, that also fine. But if you unmute and say, then we will see that you have actually memorized it. Because in typing, there are other ways.
Maybe Chiranjeev Prabhu can tell, because Rajkumar Prabhu told this verse yesterday. So Chiranjeev Prabhu, can you
already knows this verse. Oh, wonderful. Anybody
yesterday
else? Chiranjeev Prabhu, do you know this verse? Or anybody?
Out of Rajkumar, Kunal and Chiranjeev, you can tell, because Rajkumar Prabhu told this verse yesterday, so he remembers. Rest.
Okay, so it looks like this verse was also discussed yesterday. So yeah, anybody remembers? Rajkumar Prabhu, Kunal Prabhu, Chiranjeev Prabhu? Anybody? Chiranjeev Prabhu saying he doesn't know. Anybody else? Yeah, Rajkumar Prabhu. Okay, yes, you can tell.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
यमयम वापी स्मरण भाव त्यजत्यंते कलेवरम तम तमे वैति कौन्तेय सदा तद्भाव भावित है.
Exactly. And do you also know the translation of this one?
हाँ, यमयम वापी स्मरण भाव यमयम वापी अंतिम समय में जो मतलब जो मन की स्थिति होती है तम तमे वैति कौन्तेय, उसी के अनुसार उसे अगले जन्म में बॉडी मिलती है.
Yes, very nice. Very nice, very wonderful. So this verse is Bhagavad Gita verse number 8.6, chapter 8, verse number 6. Very, very important verse. If you have not memorized it, please memorize this verse, because this talks about a very important concept that we are discussing in a very succinct manner. So Krishna says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya sada tadbhava bhavitah. And the translation is, Yam yam vapi means whatever, yam yam vapi smaran, smaran means remembers. Tyajanti ante kalevaram. Tyajati ante. Ante means at the end, tyajati, when one leaves his body, kalevaram. So at the time of death, whatever thought one has, tam tam evaiti konteya sada tadbhava bhavitah. Similarly, tam tam, just like that, evaiti konteya, O Arjuna, sada tadbhava bhavitah. Just you'll get a very similar body, that kind of a body in the next life. Why? Because sada tadbhava bhavitah, because he has always been thinking of that. So whatever we think of the most throughout our life, so there are two concepts here. Whatever we think throughout our life the most is what we will remember at the time of death. And the second thing is, as a result of which, whatever we remember at the time of death, that is the kind of the body that we will get next in the next life. So it is actually a very wonderful system if you think about it, because who should decide what body should I get in the next life, right? Who should decide? If it was up to me, I would say I should decide. It's my I'm going to get my body, so let me decide. So it is that system only, So whatever you think throughout your life, that determines what thought you have at the time of death, and that determines what body you have. So you have full control over what kind of body you want in the next life, So it's not something randomly assigned. It's not some random number generator and then now you have fish body, now you get elephant body, now you get human body. No, it's not random. It is designed according to our desire. So there are two things: what we deserve and what we desire. They both play a role. If we desire something, let's say somebody has been extremely, let's say he has been very poor in this life, and his desire, he has very strong desire that he wants a big bungalow. That is his desire. Then it is possible that at the time of death, that is what he will think. So there is the desire component, but there's also the deserve component. So deserve component is where your karma also fits in. If this person who has been desiring this bungalow throughout his life, maybe if he doesn't have the kind of karma that will make him the owner of that big bungalow, let's say a big millionaire in the next life, maybe his karma is not like that, so he doesn't deserve that. But maybe he'll get some other thing which is still related to that desire. Maybe he'll become a doorman in that big bungalow, or a cook in that big bungalow, or a mosquito or a lizard in that big bungalow. So he will, to some extent, the desire will be fulfilled. But if he doesn't deserve exactly what he desires, then maybe not exactly that. But so both these components play a role: what we deserve and what we desire. So our karma and our desires. So yes, coming back to the question. Yes, so this verse is very important. Please remember it. 8.6. All right, where were we? Yes, so we discussed Kunal Sahu. Prabhu is saying, can anyone become a farmer in Varanasi? Like if you go to, so are you asking that, like if you go to a forest or something, so can you start doing farming there? Is that the question? And feel free to unmute and ask also. So that might be faster. No, then what are you asking?
Kunal, you can unmute and ask. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा.
Yes, Prabhuji.
प्रभु एक मिनट. हरे कृष्णा.
हाँ, yes, Hare Krishna.
एक Prabhupada said that कि उनका 50% अभी काम बचा हुआ है. In I saw in a video for farming.
What is the question? What is the question, Prabhu? Okay, maybe Kunal Prabhu is not able to ask right now. Whenever you come back, Prabhuji, you can ask the question. You can continue with the question. Let us move forward. We did question number 6. Yes, question number 7. This is very simple. Actually, this is an interesting question. Describe his, which means Bharat Maharaj's, spiritual status in the body of a deer. What do you learn from this incident? So, does anybody know what was his status when he was in the body of a deer? What was his thought pattern, or what was he thinking? What was his spiritual status? Does anybody remember, or does anybody know?
Prabhuji, can I speak?
Yes, please.
Like he remembered when he took born when he born as a deer, then he remembered his past life. Like he was a devotee, and then he got attached to a deer, and that is the reason he entered into the deer in the next life. So then he immediately left her mother and left her family and went to a place where saintly sadhus and other people live.
Yes.
So from here we can say कि मतलब in next spiritual जो भी selection हम करते हैं वो हमेशा हमारे साथ रहते हैं, वो कभी जाती नहीं है.
Yes.
Have you remembered the verse corresponding to this thing that you said? I have given this verse to remember. Have you remembered? Neha Vikram. That one.
नहीं तो मुझे राष्ट्र को याद होगा.
Rajkavu, have you remembered this verse?
Yeah. So yes, that is exactly what the point that Prabhuji mentioned. Dheeraj Prabhu mentioned that when he was in this deer body, what he remembered, well, it was by Krishna's great mercy that he was actually able to remember his past life. So that was one point. Second point, he was completely, spiritually aware. Even in a body of a deer. So in a body of a deer, we don't expect anybody to be spiritually aware at all, because an animal body, it is not possible to cultivate spiritual life much. But because of Krishna's mercy, he was able to, because he remembered his past life, so he also remembered the misdeed or the mistake that he made, and he also remembered his level of Krishna consciousness. So his level of Krishna consciousness was still there. So in other words, he was a very Krishna conscious deer. So like 99% spiritual progress that he had made as Bharat Maharaj, it stayed with him. So he was a 99% perfected being in the body of a deer. So what he did was he went to the same ashram, the ashram of Pulaha Rishi, and he would just sit there. Of course, he can't do much in the body of a deer, but he would just sit there and hear whatever is going on and participate a little bit. But obviously not much he can do. But he knew that, so there are two lessons that we can learn from here. One is that the verse that Abhishek Bansal Prabhu mentioned. It is Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 40, and it is Neha Bhikram Nashosti Pratyavayo na vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat, which means that in this Krishna consciousness there is no loss, and even a little bit progress, even a little bit service that somebody does, that will always be with him, and it will save him from all kinds of dangerous situations. So that is what the Bhagavad Gita verse says. So this is a great example. He made so much progress, but then he died imperfectly, thinking of a deer. and he got the body of a deer. But as Krishna assures us in Bhagavad Gita, any progress made will never ever be destroyed. It will stay. It will always stay with us. The material things, they completely are vanished at the time of death, but the spiritual credit, it stays with us. So that is one point. The second point was that he realized, Bharat Maharaj in this body realized that in his last life, one of the mistakes that he had done was that he had gotten attached, and to some extent that was because he was trying to do everything on his own. So this time he thought that he needs association, so he took the association of all these great sages in the ashram of Pulaharishi, and he just stayed there. He didn't go like somewhere else. He just stayed there to get that association. So those were the things. Okay, we have to move fast. We are out of time. Maybe where are we in the body? How did he act? Answer 9. How did Jad Bharat react to the? Maybe I can fast forward this one. How did Jad Bharat react to the dacoit's attempt of sacrificing him in front of Goddess Kali? So I think you read the story yesterday. So what happened after this was that in the body of a deer, he spent his life in Pulaharishi's ashram, and then after some time he left that body, and then he got again the body of a human being, and the name was, he was popularly called Jad Bharat, and there in that life he realized all of his previous mistakes. So he knew that he is not going to make any mistakes, and what those mistakes are, I really wanted to get into, but we don't have time. But yes, so he realized that he has no, he doesn't want to make any mistakes this time. He doesn't want to be attached to anything this time. So so he would actually just do the opposite of whatever was told. And as a result of that, people thought that he is a mad person, and he would be just like an avadhuta. He would not even wear any clothes. He would not talk to anybody. And then one day he was being asked by his brothers to just stay in this field and scare away the crows. And then some dacoits came, and they thought that, oh, this is such a nicely built body, let us use him in sacrifice. So those people used to do human sacrifice, so they brought him in front of Kali to sacrifice his body. And then yes, so they were starting to do that. And so the question here asks, how did Jad Bharat react to this attempt of sacrificing him? So the answer is, oh, Rajni Priti Singh, he was afraid of making the same mistakes, and so he remained aloof from family attachments and material activities. He behaved like a fool and dullard, as he didn't want to fall into the same mistake again. Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. And what his thought process was at the time when, he was being sacrificed. Just imagine, he was being sacrificed. And then, so the question asks, what was his thought process? His thought process was that, well, Krishna, whatever you want to do, you can do with me, I am yours. So he was not disturbed at all, and externally he was appearing as being dumb, but internally actually he knew what he was going on. He was not actually dumb. He knew what exactly was going on, but he was completely surrendered to Krishna. So it didn't really bother him at all that they were trying to sacrifice his body. Okay, last question that we will take. At question number 10, whoever is taking the class tomorrow, please go into this question. This is a very important question. What will happen if you are given the memories of your past lives? That is a very interesting question. We cannot take that today. We'll just take 11th question. What is the moral of the story? So if anybody can quickly answer just one point. There are so many morals of the story, but that some of them we already discussed. But just one short, if anybody can answer, what are some of the morals of this story? And then I will try to summarize it, and then we will end. We are sorry, I'm out of time here. But yeah, whatever moral you think is from the story.
Communicate has started.
Chiranjit Prabhu saying is we shouldn't be attached to material things. Abhishek Prabhu is saying you should respect everyone, even a fool. It might be an elevated soul disguised. Yes, very wonderful point. Any other point? Okay, because we are running out of time, maybe I can try to summarize. So first thing is we should ask what Bharat Maharaj did, was it correct or wrong? So if somebody is in a very distressed state, like if you were in that situation, you saw a baby deer, all alone, no one to take care of him, and there are so many lions and tigers there. So what would you do? Would you just, just be in your own meditation and tell to the deer, oh dear, you're not this body, so don't worry. No, we will not do that, right? It is our duty to be charitable. We should always seek shelter of Supreme God, even if murdered. Yes, yes, very nice point. Um, yes, um, so it is our duty to help others. Um, you know, Krishna talks about all these saintly qualities that a devotee should have. So not giving anxiety to others, being forgiving, being charitable, all these compassionate. All these are qualities that a devotee should inculcate. But the problem is, and that's what Bharat Maharaj was doing. He thought that he was justified to do what he was doing. He was at such a high spiritual platform. It's not that he was just some normal person, right, who doesn't know what's right and what's wrong. He was on a much higher platform than what any of us can even imagine. But still, he was thinking he's justified to do this, right? Because he thought that there is this baby deer who has no shelter, so I have to give him shelter. But the problem is that if we like to take care of somebody is justified, but we should never forget the real need of that person. So when we are helping someone, we should realize on what level are we helping them. Are we helping them on the level of the body, which is okay, or are we helping them on the level of the soul, right? So helping on the level of body, which a lot of people do, philanthropist people, who give charity, so many things. So they're doing good things, but they're helping at the level of the body, like feeding the poor, So you feed them today, then tomorrow again they are poor. Tomorrow again they need food, So helping on the level of body, first of all, is very temporary. Not just on a daily basis temporary, maybe you give them a lot. But then after some time they are going to lose it, right? Any material asset is limited. So whatever material help you provide them will be limited. And plus there is this possibility of misuse also. So we do these things, we do help, but it should be in alignment with the real help. If we're not really helping them, then we are wasting their time and we are also wasting our time, So what is real help? Well, to understand what is real help, we should know what are the real problems. And that we have seen, the real problems are only 4: birth, death, old age, and disease. Krishna also says this in Bhagavad Gita. These are the real problems. These are real problems because this affects everybody, and these problems will never leave us as long as we are in this material world. Everything else will keep going up and down, but these 4 problems will be there with you all the time. So if we are actually want to help anybody, so we should help them at the level of the soul. So his mistake was that he was distracted from the essence, right? So we can be so engrossed by the bodily or mental problems of other people that we forget our own soul's need, or we forget their soul's need. So that is the problem. Being engrossed in material problems, we may think that, okay, let me try to solve this problem or that problem, but in the meantime our spiritual growth has gone down, their spiritual growth has also gone down. So just think of him. He renounced everything. He renounced his wife, children, his kingdom, which was the kingdom means the entire earth. So he renounced all of that, and then he became attached to a deer. So all that renunciation was of no use then, right? So the point is that we should be careful not to be attached to anything except Krishna. So this is one of the important morals of this story. And if you should read this chapter from Bhagavatam. It is Canto 5, Chapter 8, I think, and Chapter 9 also. So there Srila Prabhupada makes a very nice point that Bharat Maharaj was at such a high position, right? He was the king of the entire world, an ideal king, he was 99% spiritually perfect, but he became attached to a baby deer. So what to speak of us? You know, if we have let's say some pet cats and dogs, you know, so obviously we will be attached to them, and well, our situation will only be worse. You know, there are so many people here in America. At least there are a lot of people who are just all alone by themselves, and just to kill that loneliness, they get a dog or a cat. You know, so that is all they have in their house, themselves and their cat or dog. You know, so that's what they do all day. They play with their cat or they play with their dog, and then they feed it, and then they take him outside for a walk and this and that. They always take pictures of the cat and dog, post it on the internet. Just they are completely cat conscious or dog conscious. So obviously you can imagine what is going to happen to them in the next slide. So this is the point, that we should never forget the essence. There will be lots and lots of distractions. Bharat Maharaj's story is an inspiration to us, because to show that even the most elevated kind of person can also be distracted. And for us, there are so many distractions all the time, you know. So we have to first of all be very careful that we should not be distracted, you know. So and the second thing is to take association, which is what he tried to do as a deer. If you are in association of devotees, there is less a chance of being distracted, because then you don't have to struggle with your mind alone. You know, there are other devotees around you that will help you in that struggle. It won't be a struggle actually. And yes, the third thing is that helping on the bodily platform is okay, but if it is not aligned with the real help on the spiritual platform, then it can, even such help can lead to fall down. You know? So yeah, these were some of the morals. Sorry, I went very much over time. And yeah, there are 2 questions left. So the next devotee, they can take those questions. Yeah, thank you everybody for joining. Hare Krishna.